Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Hey, guys. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I am Callie. It is Saturday, August 24th, and we are recording our inaugural T-Mam podcast. How are y'all?
Doing
Good.
pretty good.
Ready to go.
I'm doing pretty good. I had a great round this morning. Shot a little scramble. We went 7 under at one of the tougher courses in the area, so I feel pretty good today.
You were disc golfing?
Yeah.
Nice. Mom, what have you been up to this morning?
I went out for breakfast with a friend and did some girl stuff.
Did you get
Mani-pedis
And my little friend very rarely gets upset, but she got aggravated at our restaurant today. They were really off this morning. Yeah.
It takes a lot to get Wanda flustered.
It does. Yeah, it does. But she pretty much threw some money at them and said, "Here, take this."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
then.
I walked out laughing. It does. I mean, when she does get mad, it's kind of entertaining.
She's having a hard time, and you're sitting here giggling.
I know. But she knows why.
I mean, but also, like, on the other side of that, like, on the flip side, right, like, you could have been just as amped as she was and just as irritated, and that would have only made it worse.
Yeah. So,
Funny.
well, we were irritated about different things at the same restaurant.
Yeah, I get it.
Sad thing when you've gone before, 2 or 3 times, but this is your worst service and you won't go back.
Yeah. It was that bad?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've been a couple of times and now you won't go? Ouch. That's rough. You guys are pretty patient.
Yeah. Yeah, but when you tick my girlfriend off,
Yeah.
you've pushed the limit.
Yeah. I just want to go ahead and say really quick, while we're on this specific topic, this is our inaugural introduction episode, and we're talking about you and your girlfriend. So we should probably clear that up in some capacity. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. I have no judgment. If you wanted to have a girlfriend, like, Dad would probably be upset about it, but
Yeah, it
maybe
depends.
not. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends.
He might get over it.
Yeah.
I hear Jennifer Lopez is single now, so.
Good to know.
Crickets.
All right. Well, guys, this week on our first episode, I think what we wanted to talk about was kind of why we're doing this, what we're looking to get out of it. What are we in this for? We've talked about it a little bit in the past, but let's just chat about it. Mom, why don't you lead us off? What are you looking to get out of this podcasting experience? What do you want this show to do for you and to do for anybody who gives it a listen?
Interesting. So, this started really because we were having phone calls between the 3 of us that would go on for hours, where we were talking about something, whatever had struck us. I mean, I think probably when this hit, we were talking about the one about your texting age, and Cole got really irritated because he was older than me in texting age. And so we talked about how good those conversations are between the 3 of us, and what a wide variety of conversations that we have on that, and also that we love each other a whole lot so that we can argue or disagree or be open-minded about, something way out there that Cole's brought in, because Callie and I are pretty simpatico, but Cole sometimes is a stretch out there to make us think a little bit more.
The black sheep, if you will.
Yeah, the pest.
the pest.
I mean, but it was just, at least from my perspective, like with you guys being in the same house on occasion, like for work and things, like from my perspective, it was so funny because I would be sitting here doing whatever as a part of my day, and then I would get a phone call from one of you. So I was just talking to your brother, or I was just talking to your mother, and she said this. What do you think? Tell her that she's wrong. Tell him that he's not right, and explain this to him. I mean, and it's always so comical to me how these conversations would get started, and they start off like very lightheartedly and happy and kind of us ribbing each other, if you will. And then it turns into this bigger, but hold on, wait, let me think about this. Well, I hadn't thought about that. And I have this piece of information that you hadn't heard before. And that kind of changes things for me. And so we ended up with this really, really unique, well-rounded view. I mean, like Mom said, we don't agree on everything. And we don't think that everything is hunky-dory. And
you guys have a lot more exposure to things sometimes than I do. Whether you're looking at TikTok or you're listening to Rogan or whatever it is, you guys have an exposure that I don't have.
That's so interesting. I mean, I was reading something the other day, and I was listening to a podcast, and it's like, look, this is how you stay sane during the election. Go read the New York Times once a day and be done with it. Just get some facts and then form your own opinion, because all of the memes and all of the TikToks and all of the Instagram reels, the snippets of these little bitty pieces of what's going on in this grand, huge picture of especially 2024 politics right now, can be so narrow and so short-sighted, and God forbid your algorithm has figured you out, and so I'm only going to serve you with this one because I know you'll like that. And so I feel like we're all really good at finding different viewpoints and hearing other people out. And I think especially what for me, because I remember so vividly, we were having a conversation on our group text, just the three of us, and I was like, guys, this is how the podcast starts. Like, this is what it is. This is what we should be having conversations about for a podcast. And I just remember thinking, these conversations where we do not agree, where we do not all come to the table even from the same place, not in the same house, we can have respectful disagreement, and we can have thought-provoking conversations, because like Cole said a minute ago, we're doing it with people that we love and love us, and so it allows you to be more open-minded, which I just think is really, really cool. Your guard's a little more let down.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. When we were talking about this a few weeks ago, that was really kind of just what is kind of stuck in my head and in my heart, is that we can talk about whatever we want to. And, I'll bring in a conversation that Mom and I were having yesterday. We were talking about Kamala Harris. And while I am not pro Kamala Harris, I'm not pro Donald Trump either. Here in the last couple of years, my political stance has shifted further away from the two of you than it was previously. I would still kind of call myself I don't really like the term progressive or centrist, but I'm not really hyper conservative, but I'm also definitely not hyper liberal. I was talking to Mom earlier, like, yeah, pretty sure I'm on a watch list because my algorithm is basically all like tannerite and mixing high explosives. Like, yeah, they're I probably have an FBI agent who monitors my internet activity.
I bet he has a really entertaining day, though. I bet you're his most fun watch.
Well, most of it is like computers and like nerdy stuff, but then you start scrolling on like TikTok or Reels, and it's like, here's how you make a pipe bomb, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. Bookmark.
There's also the Lightning McQueen thing you told me about this week.
What?
Yeah, here's our funny feel good story of the week, Gig. So a couple of months ago, on a lot of the doom scrolling, what's the portals, the doom scrolling services, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, there was a trend going around where you would see a title of this video and it would say something like, cow gets struck by lightning out of nowhere, or jogger hit by lightning in the middle of the street or football player at the Super Bowl gets struck by lightning, and you're just like, what? Now I have to watch this because like this like
Train wreck.
This is going to be a train wreck, and so it'll just be this super plain, like mundane video of a cow standing in a field, and you'll watch it for like 15 or 20 seconds, and all of a sudden this little clip of Lightning McQueen comes across the screen, edited in, and he just comes through and he says ka-chow, and then it's over. So
I love it.
Me and a few of my friends had gotten in the habit of, like, they weren't like super prevalent. It wasn't like every 2 or 3 videos you would get one. It was like once a week or every other week or so. And so they would kind of just catch you off guard. So me and some of my friends started sending them to each other, because that's one thing that we do when we're doom scrolling, is we make our friends join us in a doom scroll and send them like goofy or interesting videos. Yeah. So we went back and forth, particularly me and my friend Preston, and he got me over and over and over again. He'd send me this one, and like it wouldn't always just be the title of the video. Sometimes he would leave like a description, like, dude, this is crazy, what just happened, I can't believe this is on TikTok. And so I'd watch the whole thing just for a little ka-chow right at the very end, and he got me over and over and over again. I come home from work one night this week, and as I'm pulling into the driveway, I see on the front porch that there's a big package there, and I'm like, okay, it must be Shauna's, so I'll just grab it on my way in. So I go and I pick up this package, and the box is like halfway torn open, and there's like the tape is like stretched out, like somebody's opened up this box already and been rummaging through it. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I hope there's something left in the box. Yeah. And I look at it, and the name on it, it's addressed to me. And I'm just like, well, everything that I know that I've ordered is accounted for. I don't think I'm waiting for anything. What could this possibly be? So I take it inside, and I get it opened up, and I open the box, and I pull out a pair of bright red Lightning McQueen Crocs, like the rubber shoes.
Yeah.
Adult size.
Yeah, they're adult size, men's 11. Well, I wear a 13, and I'm just like, where is this from? And so I'm sitting here.
Were you drunk on Amazon again?
I mean, and so that was like one of the first things that I did, is I like opened up my Amazon, and I was like, did I accidentally order the wrong size Lightning McQueen Crocs? And so I'm sitting here just racking my brain trying to figure out what has happened here. And so I start texting my friends, and I text Preston, and I text a couple of my other friends, and Callie, I spent like several hours that evening, and then when I woke up the next morning, like trying to figure out where these Crocs came from. And all of my friends were like, no, it wasn't me. That's hilarious, though. That was like the exact response I got from like 5 or 6 different people wasn't me. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And
so I'm like, okay, is somebody lying to me? Did I get ka-chowed in real life, and now my friends are still like, they're all in on it. They're all messing with me now.
Camera that's been set up to watch you all confused.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher's about to pop out of my pantry and tell me I'm being punked.
I love it.
And I'm just like, so I start going through like everything that I can possibly imagine, like ordering something off of. So like I look through Amazon again. I don't have any orders there. I look through like Shopify, which tells you everything that's not Amazon basically, and say, well, I don't have an order here. I don't have an order here. And so I start looking through all of these different things that I could have ordered this from. And I'm like, I have no idea. Somebody's got to just be messing with me. And like it's got to be Preston. It's got to be Preston. Certainly it's him. And he's over here like texting me like, well, did you check over here? Was it this? And I'm like, surely he's pulling my leg at this point. And so finally, like, I've gotten through all of my apps that I can possibly order from something, and I'm just kind of like scrolling through. I'm like, you know what? I didn't check eBay. And so I open up my eBay app.
Do you order a lot of eBay things?
Not a lot, but every once in a while.
Okay.
So I open up eBay, and I'm scrolling through my order history, and I'm like, no, see, I know I didn't buy any Lightning McQueen Crocs. And then when I do a search on eBay for Lightning McQueen Crocs, And there's a reason I didn't order them, especially not in the wrong size, because they're like $100 a pair.
For Crocs.
For
rubber
Crocs.
shoes.
For Lightning McQueen.
But they're
They don't
special
fit.
edition Lightning McQueen Crocs. So like, at this point, like, I've given up. I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to wear the damn Crocs. I don't care if they're too small. It'll be hilarious. So I've kind of like made up my mind on this. And as I've made up my mind on this, I'm about to close the eBay app, and I happen to just notice that there's a little notification pop up in the bottom right-hand corner. And so I click on it. It's like, you've got new messages. And the entire time, it was from an eBay seller that I bought something from like 2 months ago. And somehow he sent it to the wrong address. And so a couple of days before that, he had sent me, obviously, I have notifications for eBay turned off because I don't want eBay notifications at all.
Right.
Like, I'll go on there when I need something, and that'll be enough. Like 2 days before that, he had sent me a message. And he's like, hey, I'm really, really sorry. I hope you enjoyed the first thing that you bought from me, but I accidentally mailed you something that was supposed to go to someone else. Can you send that back to me, please?
Oh my gosh. Because now he's out his $100 Lightning McQueen Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has a pissed off customer.
And it wasn't any of my friends. The universe or karma or whatever you want to call it decided to ka-chow me because I had sent these to my friend.
Oh my gosh. Okay, number one, first and foremost, ka-chow is my favorite onomatopoeia. Ryan makes fun of me. He's like, do not ka-chow me right now. Did you just ka-chow this? I mean, it's ridiculous how much I love saying that. I didn't really put it two and two together that was a Lightning McQueen thing. But so number one, like, I love that you've turned this into a verb. And number two, I love that this was the universe's way of just screwing with you. Be like, ha ha ha, gotcha.
See,
Like,
Exactly
for
what I was
all the
thinking. This is karma's algorithm for you.
Some people get splashed by a bus in the rain, and you get 2 size small Crocs from Lightning McQueen. That's hysterical.
We're not going to talk about the amount of time that I spent on Amazon, though, looking at the different. I mean, like, there's SpongeBob.
what about these Mater ones? They're 120. They're really cute, though. They even have a little tow hook. No, Mother. I'm not
the
spending
strap,
$120
Callie, they have a winch that hangs off
on Mater
You
Crocs.
are kidding.
No.
Oh my gosh.
He wouldn't take the shark ones either that look like they're eating your toes for 15. He's just rude about the whole thing.
Gosh, that's really funny.
It eventually devolved into her sending me a text message that was a picture of some goofy pair of shoes that were exorbitantly expensive for what they were, and me just responding, no.
Like the high-heeled sneakers that I sent you the other day?
Yeah, what are those? Sneaks?
Sneaks.
Sneaks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sneaks.
Sneakheados?
They're called sneaks. This is the new
Sarah
innovation
Blakely.
by Sarah Blakely, yeah, of Spanx.
They're spike-heeled tennis shoes.
Yeah. Comfortable, supposedly.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Completely redesigned for your foot to be comfortable.
Took like 10 years in development.
For $700.
Why don't we just do a podcast about goofy shoes? Like,
I
to hell with politics and like loving each other and sharing ideas. Let's just find a bunch of goofy shoes on the internet and tell people about them.
Yeah,
I'm down.
everybody's gone anyway. We can talk about whatever we want to.
Oh, yeah. We've completely lost them at this point. They're like these wackadoodles.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's so funny. I love that the universe got you like that. Like, what a great gotcha. Like an accidental, totally, what's the word I'm looking for? Not holistic. Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Wholesome?
I don't know. Sure, let's go with that. Yeah, wholesome. I don't know. I'll think of it here in like 10 minutes, and I'll blurt it out, and y'all will be like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
I know that feeling. All right. Anyways, back to the subject at hand after that long rabbit hole tangent.
Yes. I wonder if we should give like a quick little breakdown of each of us, who we are, because like a second ago, Cole, you called me Gig, and while I know who you're talking to, the universe certainly doesn't, unless
That's
they read
fair.
Mom's blog.
So
There's
I'm
your-
the only one who doesn't have a nickname.
Yeah, you do.
But
Ma.
Mama girl.
that's not Mama Girl is probably the closest thing. But when Cole was little, he was quite a little chunk, and so I started calling him Buddha.
Thick boy.
Yeah, and which has eventually gone down to Boo, BOO and so I talk about Boo or I talk about Gig because Callie's was Giggles when she was little, and so when you hear one of us refer to Boo or Gig, that's where it comes from.
Hi there.
Here I am.
Because I don't even hear myself say it.
No, I mean, it's really funny. Like, especially, I don't say it Gig very often because I'm not talking about myself. But I always get a kick out of when I type it in a text message, like, "Oh, thanks, Buddha." Oh, hey, Boo. We have been calling him that for way longer than it was culturally relevant. Calling your bae your Boo.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
You're the trendsetter here, way before.
Who knew?
I always
never
wanted
thought
to be a
about you.
hipster.
I never knew you were a trendsetter, Boo.
I mean, technically, it would be you.
Well, that's true.
She has a point.
That's true. Well, there you go. So, see, I'm a real hip mom. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
As
that's it.
Boo laughs. Rude.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
You probably already are.
I am.
We did have to have a quick discussion, like when we were talking about starting the podcast. Like, we have to keep the ribbing to be gentle ribbing, not to knife fight in a phone booth.
Occasional gentle ribbing.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I still, never mind. I won't even say it. I don't
Go
want to
ahead.
put that out there. No, I already did. I did the other day when we were talking about it. Like, I just, like, because I come from advertising where every question is always making sure that everything is supposed to meet the need that it is filling. Like, so oftentimes you're sitting there like, hey, does this look like a penis? Hey, does this look like a penis? Like, just to double check and make sure that this couldn't get out and somebody responds to this wrong. I mean, unless you're looking for a penis, and then you're not going to find it over here. But I was like, gentle ribbing. Like, there's no way anybody's going to mistake that for a condom joke, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, since I missed the hand gesture at the DNC that was made, that made the whole internet go crazy.
That was really funny. And ad-libbed, apparently.
Yes.
So funny. I can still just see Barack Obama. That was pretty funny.
So, Gig, what do you want to get out of this podcast? What's your goal here? Why are you doing it?
I think first and foremost, like, I think that I'm hoping that this further encourages us to have these conversations and further encourages us to go a little bit more in depth. I mean, we can sit here and talk about how the three of us each individually feel about gun control all day long, but how much of what I have in my head is actually true? How much of that is actually real? How much of that is actually accurate and applicable to this argument in general? And should I feel that way? Should I be open to something different? Whatever that looks like. And I think that you can apply that to just about any topic. Like, I'm so excited to get in and start researching things. Like, we were talking about polling and I'm going through my regular everyday life and I'm like, hey, I don't know enough about how that works. I should go look at this and see how we could apply that and talk about that in the podcast. Like, because we're just regular old-fashioned Southerners, and so I think that if
Texans.
for sure, absolutely, Texans first.
Yeah, I think
In
that's a really important designation to make here, because this is something that I didn't really realize until the last few years. Is like, I always considered myself a Southerner, but Southerners don't really consider Texans Southerners.
No, not at all. Texas is not the South with air quotes.
Yeah, it's a completely different culture. Like, it's a whole different cast of people.
Oh yeah.
Which I
With a
I
Southern flair, I think.
For sure. Yeah, definitely has Southern roots, but it's kind of like rap compared to R&B.
But Callie, just to go on to yours, I mean, as we're talking about this and we look at the divisions that we see, I hope that we are able, between the three of us having different exposure and different opinions, that we can also share that out and get people to listen a little bit, or maybe, give them some information that they don't have, and some way, something to just open their mind up to something different.
Yeah, food for thought, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the state of our current country and political sphere, I think, is really, really scary. Like even Tim Walz is out on the campaign trail talking about everybody's got that weird uncle that you don't want to talk politics, like, which is totally true. Like, I'm not saying that that's not true, but I just feel like if we can't have hard conversations with the people that we love, then who are you going to have them with that person you have a road rage incident with? Be like, this is why abortion is good or bad, like, because that's going to be super productive, and that's definitely going to open their mind. Like, if we can't have good, fun conversations, like, I get the weird uncle part. That's probably going to be me, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
The things you can't have at Thanksgiving dinner, the conversations you can't have at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, but I think you should be able to have those conversations. And so, like, where you're coming from, Gig, I completely agree with you. It's really important to start from a place of love, but you're absolutely right. If we can't have those conversations, then we can't ever figure anything out. And, like, I know so many people that have just completely, like, maybe not completely cut ties, but have completely pushed themselves away from their family over, like, really small things that don't impact us in our day-to-day lives. Like, I have a uncle who's a crazy gun nut, and he's going to be the people who own guns are evil, and they're going to be the end of the world. Or I have a cousin who is a hunter, and I'm a vegetarian, so I can't even be in the same room with them. And you're just like, well, but why not? Like, it's okay to have differing opinions, even if it's someone that you don't love and you don't agree with what they're saying. It's still really important to get their perspective, but more so to understand where their perspective comes from and why they feel that way. Because if you know why someone feels that way, then that's when you can start to inch closer and closer and closer together to where there is some level of agreement. So yeah, maybe we disagree on 1, 2, 3, and 4 on a count to 10, but 5, 6, and 7, we're kind of similar, and 8, 9, and 10, we feel exactly the same way. But if you only get to step 1 and you have a disagreement and you just stop the conversation there, then you never get to that point where we actually have common ground on some of these things. And there seems to be, for some reason, this complete lack of effort at this point, and for people to try and have those conversations with people who have different opinions. Like, I will debate or argue with someone over something all day long. I have no problem with that. It's one of my favorite hobbies. Like, I will go to bat for my beliefs, period. And then if you can show me something, some evidence that says, hey, the way you're thinking about this is wrong, then that's where I can start to change my thinking and adapt my beliefs to say, okay, now this is how I should feel because this is the reality. Because, like, while I hate being wrong, never, ever, ever want to continue to be wrong out of stubbornness.
Stubbornness is such a good word for it. I think that we have become, that's exactly what it is. We have become a stubborn people. And so I can't even listen to you because of you're different than me. And you're just like, whoa. Like, how are we supposed to learn? How are we supposed to learn from each other and learn from history and learn from just different perspectives and people who have come from different walks of life, how to better handle that and how to better have grace for them and how to see what it is that they're seeing. I mean, how many times, what's that saying, like, if there's a snake, it'll bit you? Like, you can go and look for something and you're like, oh, I couldn't see it, but the next person walked up and it was right there. It could have smacked them. And I feel like it's the same idea with thoughts. Like, there are certainly moments where my brain isn't as clear as it should be or as straightforward as it should be or as accurate even as what is reality. And then somebody else can come in with niceness, with grace, and say, hey, Callie, like, you're not wrong or you're not right, and here's why. And then, like Cole said, then it rejiggers everything in my brain, and it's like, oh, I was totally wrong. I can modify my thought process and my beliefs based on actual truth, on actual information and data.
Because now you have more of the formula.
Yeah.
So if you're doing an algebraic equation and you've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but you don't know, you only have a, that makes it really hard to figure out that equation. I mean, you can kind of guess, and there's a lot of things that you could plug into B or C that would give you an answer, and that answer would make sense, but that may not actually be the equation that you're looking at.
And I think in today's world, we're so, I mean, my algorithm, if I'm on social media, is totally different from y'all's.
Yeah.
So if I'm only looking at my algorithm, I'm only getting the story that they're promoting by that. So
Echo
I
chamber.
need you guys to bring some more of that in and to show me a little bit more of that.
It's good to challenge each other's thought process and belief, because that's how you make your thought process and your beliefs more what's the word I'm looking for here, like bastion is not universal, no. It makes your understanding of reality more rock solid,
Well-rounded.
and yes, exactly, that's perfect. And so if you only know part of the equation, you can never have a real picture of what the rest of it looks like.
Absolutely. Okay,
I've
just
also-
because I'm... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just also wanted to point out something that you said earlier that I also am really excited about, is going through and doing the research and just being more informed in general. I think I have gotten to a point where everyone else that I try and talk to is kind of so closed off and so segmented and tribalized into their beliefs that, like, I can talk to someone and like generally be calm about it. I got a little bit of a hothead. There are certain things where, no, you're an idiot. Let me show you why you're an idiot. But it usually takes me a little while to get there. I'm not just like off the rip, your beliefs are wrong. At least I hope not. But every once in a while, there's someone who says something so stupid where you're just like, listen here, buddy, we're going to have a conversation and I'm going to learn you something.
Oh, yeah.
But
For
I'm
sure.
really excited to spend that time doing the research, but also doing the research with y'all to see what your process is, see where you're getting your information from. And then I really want to, at some point, look at it from like outside of each of our individual sets to identify, like, I'm biased here, Callie is biased there, Mom has these biases. And I think it's going to be really interesting to point those biases out to each other so that we can, again, improve our way of thinking, so that hopefully we can get to a point where we can really be an example, be a shining light in what some people perceive as really, really dark times, because a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now is really, really scary, and it's going to get worse unless we start talking to each other.
Yeah.
Agree.
Mom, I feel like I need to go read Blind Spot again. I've been thinking about it for a few weeks now. Cole, did you ever read that book?
No, what's Blind Spot?
Blind Spot it's done by, oh God, Mom, I feel like they were Harvard professors. I don't remember. But Cole, it is about, let me pull it up. It says, it's called Blind Spot, The Hidden Biases of Good People, and how you could sit here all day long and say, I mean, Callie, like, we are all white. We were born and raised in Texas. That's who we are. We also, Cole and I would tell you that we went to school, all of our schools. Like, I would tell you that I was a minority as a white female in Texas. So it is about how you can sit here and say all day long, like, oh, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. But when you go and they show you pictures of black people, you automatically, like, your brain subconsciously says, hey, this is different and this is the same, even if it's untrue. And how just because you think that you're not biased doesn't mean that you are. In fact, the more you think that you're unbiased, the more hidden they are. And so Blind Spot is about pointing out and kind of finding your own blind spots so that you can then,
Because we all have them.
absolutely.
I mean, I was sitting here while you were talking, Cole, about biases, thinking, oh, I wish I could say I don't have any of those. But, I mean, we do.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them we don't even know that we have. I can't remember the author, but there was something very specifically that he, as the author and researcher, and then to find out that he really did have a bias about X. And I wish I could remember what it was. But, yeah, it is a good book. I would recommend it.
Yeah, how prevalent they are, like, in your regular everyday life. And that doesn't have to be just as, quote unquote, cut and dry as black versus white. It could be like there's a whole test in there about bugs. Ladybugs are good bugs and cockroaches are bad bugs. Well, why? Like, what does that actually mean? But if there was
they're
a cockroach,
nasty.
because I've decided that they're gross. And ladybugs are cute. But did you guys happen to see the deal? I can't remember who it was. It was somebody I saw it on Instagram, and it was a few years ago, but they were feeding, they had their 2 children. I don't remember. Let's call it 4 and 6. And they're like, we're going to feed this. I don't even remember what they were feeding, but they ate ladybugs. So we're going to feed and put these ladybugs out. So they'd ordered all of these ladybugs off of the internet. They knew where it came from, Cole. And then, I mean, I guess they kind of did.
Roasted.
Then they're handing they're giving all the kids these ladybugs for them to hand to whatever they're feeding. And the kids are all excited. Well, then they start biting the kids. And the kids, like, at first, like, the little boy's like, ow, ow. And then it develops into this whole big, huge thing. Like, oh, my God, this hurts. Mom, this hurts. Come to find out, they bought some kind of, like, ladybug imposters. They're some kind of beetles that look like ladybugs, Japanese lady beetles or something ridiculous that look exactly like ladybugs, but they're mean. And so going back to that bias of it all, like, oh, ladybugs are good because they don't bite, and cockroaches are bad because they're gross. And it's like, but why do you think that? And it's okay that you think that in this particular case, but not having a concept of knowing that you're quote unquote wrong. Like, if you have a specific reason. I hate cockroaches because one crawled into my ear and laid a bunch of eggs, and that was really gross. Like, yeah, that would be horrible. I get that. But just because you've decided that they're gross doesn't actually make them gross.
Asian lady beetles.
Yeah, that's what they were. This video, and they're like, it was like a throwback to it when I saw it. It's like, do you remember that time we gave the kids ladybugs that bite them? I was like, oh, God. It was really funny. I felt bad. But also I laughed. Sorry, children.
Picking on the little kids.
I know. Well, they're older now. So now they're like 5 and 6 and 9, 8.
Uh-huh. That's so much better.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're not on social media, so they never hear that. Sorry, kids. I think that you're fine, but your parents. Ouch. Sorry, guys. That sucked. We've all been there, though. Knowledge is power.
So what kind of things do you guys want to talk about on this podcast? I know we're going to spend a lot of time on, like, politics and policy and kind of how we feel about the political landscape and what's going on, because we've got some pretty significant differences there.
Oh, for sure.
But there's some more things that I would like to talk about. Like, we had talked about, like, having an episode talking about Southern manners and how they've gotten us in trouble in the past. I'm sure we'll talk some about, like, different research methods, maybe, which would be really interesting to kind of share with people how we go about finding the things that we talk about. But, I mean, to me, it's going to be more than just, like, political commentary. It's more like what we've got written on our description, cultural commentary. So it's things like, why does a certain group of people, why are they treated a certain way, or why do we treat certain groups of people certain ways? And I think those will be really, really interesting, but eventually that kind of material sort of dries up. So what else do we talk about?
That's one of the things that I think is so fun, because I think all 3 of us are pretty funny about just seeing something that strikes a chord with us and sharing it with the other 2, going, oh my gosh, did you see this? And what do you think about this? So I think it's going to be really varied.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of my biggest struggles, and we ran into that earlier this week, is we've kind of developed this habit of whenever we see something, I'll just call you and start talking to you about it. And
Right.
now I have to like try not to do that. I have to write it down so that we can have that conversation later. But it's so much harder to try and have that conversation later when it's not fresh in your brain. That's going to be a really hard habit for me to break.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want you to break that. I'm not sure I want to give up all of those conversations. Maybe we'll just have to record a lot.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, maybe we're just like, oh, hey, this is a chat for the podcast. Let's hop on.
15 minutes here,
Yeah.
15 minutes there.
For real. That would be great. But yeah, we were talking earlier this week, and I stopped it. I was like, wait, don't rehearse this. Don't think too much about it. Specifically because this will be an awesome conversation on the podcast. And I was thinking about it earlier today. I'm still really looking forward to it. But I think Mom's right. Like, I think in the intro, it talks about the quirks of everyday life and what that is, and Cole getting ka-chowed by the universe, and all of these, like, silly things that happen to us. And, oh my gosh, like, just ridiculous things. And I'm really looking forward to that. I also am very, very much, I'm very much looking forward to all of the weird thoughts that we come up with each week. Like, I have thought about this. Like, I'm literally like living my daily life. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, that's freaking weird. We should write that down.
What was the one I had the other day, Mom? It was a couple of weeks ago, and
About if you didn't have all your fingers or something.
oh yeah, yeah. So kind of to show everybody kind of how our segment layout works. I think our plan is to like end every episode with a weird thought segment where one of us has a weird thought and we share it with the others and see what they think. And
How weird they are.
Yeah, this one's really, really weird. I was talking to one of my buddies a few weeks ago, and I don't even remember what caused it, but we started having a conversation. It just popped into my head out of nowhere. Is like, if humans had evolved where our thumbs were on the outside of our hands instead of on the inside, like they were on the opposite end, like over by your pinky instead of next to your index finger, like how different would the world have developed? Like what technology would be different? Like guns, like cell phones wouldn't work the same way. Yeah, like all of the tools would be so drastically different. Like, but how different? Like it's hard, and this is one of the smartest things I've ever heard this friend of mine say. He was like, dude, it's so wild, you wouldn't even be able to think about how different it would be because you're so used to your thumbs being where they are.
That's true. I was just thinking, we used to make fun of people because they would pick at a typewriter with their index fingers. But if you move the thumbs, and we still have smartphones, that's exactly what you would be doing, is you'd be typing with your index finger. So what used to be, made fun of now would be the norm.
But what if instead of having a touch screen, like because we don't even develop a touch screen because our thumbs are on the other side, and we just have like miniature typewriters that have the keyboard on the bottom and they're like Braille.
I'll say this. Ryan I make fun of him all of the time because somehow he's, what is that? What generation is he? Gen X?
X,
Right.
I think.
So he's 45, I think. So he somehow, you guys, I don't even know. Like, I feel like I need to take a picture of this when he does it. He texts with his forefingers, with his index fingers.
I do that sometimes.
But he's so fast. He's faster with his index fingers than anybody has ever been with their thumbs. And they just move and fly across his little phone, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, this is what thumbs are for, man.
But more than that, I keep thinking, what if your thumb was on the outside of your hand?
Like,
so your grip.
I was going to say, how do you close it?
Like our pinkies would be, like it's basically just your hand. They're just like reverse. Like your right hand is basically your left hand and your left hand is your right hand. But like your index finger at that point would probably be your weakest finger, and your pinky, what is now your pinky, would be probably more like your index finger. But like, how would you hammer something like that? Like if you were trying to use a hammer, you get so much less leverage. Like we wouldn't even have the same tools. It might not even be called a hammer.
Right. It would be called an armor. Because you're just, bam. No? Not a thing.
It was
Whatever.
cute, but a bit of a swing and a miss.
I mean, it works out in WWE. It works really well for them.
That's an elbow drop.
Okay, well, same thing. Well, I'm just giving it a new name. And if you get to sit here and talk about where our thumbs grow, then I get to call tools different names, damn it. But also, wouldn't that be kind of like dogs, like with their paws? I'm sitting here, our dog's walking around, and they don't really have a thumb in the same way that we do.
Yeah.
They have their dew claw, right? But, so, would you be able to hold and grip anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, you still have a thumb. It's just like backwards. Like, you can still hold stuff. You just are holding it
Backwards.
back. Like,
So wouldn't you just adapt the same way that you adapt if you go drive somewhere else in the world where you're driving on the other side of the road?
not exactly.
Like, it would be really awkward and weird at first, but then you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. Like, they don't. Like,
Yeah, I think
anybody
that's
who
a
drives on
brain
the
thing.
But wouldn't it be with your hand too?
No,
Well,
it'd be
well,
a
yeah,
physical
but-
thing.
But we're not necessarily talking about, if magically our thumbs were just on the other side. We're talking about if the human species had evolved with thumbs on the other side of our hand. So, like, we wouldn't even think it was weird because they just always had been there. But it's kind of fun to think about concepts of how things would have developed differently if our thumbs were in a different spot.
Oh yeah, or if we walked.
That's
on
going to
it.
mess with me, though, because I keep visualizing it. That's going to mess with me.
It is kind of weird.
There was hand gestures that went with that audience. Just FYI. But
Well, all right, ladies. I think that's a kind of a really good stopping point for us. I'm super
starting point.
yeah,
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird was that thought?
Weird.
I mean, it was a ka-chow right out the gate.
I started to say, can we use the term weird now? Or has it become a
Oh, a
different
political
connotation? Yeah.
a political buzzword.
Yes.
Yeah, screw those guys. We're not letting them. We're not letting them change our language.
Well, and if you can come up with a more accurate descriptor for what would happen if our thumbs were on the other side of our hands, let me know, and then it can be considered. But until then,
I mean, we
think,
could just call that a boo thought.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that one on a 1 to 10 weird thought scale. I think I'm gonna give that one like a solid 9.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree.
Well, all right, ladies. It's been great talking with you guys. I'm super excited to continue doing this with y'all.
Yes, 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 yes.
We'll see you guys next week. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.